Hi, all, welcome back to part 2 of my Halloween special. If you enjoy this story, I would like to ask to like and subscribe. Let's go back to where we left off yesterday. The killer's footsteps grew closer, and she could hear him taunting her. "You think you can hide? I will find you, Lucy." His voice sent chills down her spine. In a moment of desperation, Lucy crawled into a dense cluster of bushes, hoping to remain unseen. She held her breath, praying he wouldn't find her. The woods felt alive with dread, every sound amplified in the stillness. Time passed, and the only sound was the distant rustling of leaves. Just as Lucy began to think she might be safe, she heard a rustle nearby. Her heart sank as she saw a shadow pass by her hiding spot. The killer was searching, methodically scouring the area. Then, in a moment of horror, he stopped right in front of her. "I know you're here," he said softly, his breath heavy. "It's only a matter of time." Lucy held her breath, willing herself to be invisible. The tension stretched, each second feeling like an eternity. Finally, after what felt like forever, he moved on, continuing his search deeper into the woods. Taking a chance, Lucy crawled out from her hiding place, adrenaline pumping through her veins. She couldn't stay here. She had to find a way back to town, to safety. The path she chose was overgrown, branches snagging her clothes as she navigated through the darkness. Suddenly, she heard a sound behind her, a snapping twig. She froze, panic rising in her throat. "Lucy!" the killer called, his voice a sinister whisper that made her skin crawl. "Where are you hiding?" She turned and ran, not daring to look back. The woods felt endless, the shadows closing in as the trees whispered secrets she couldn't understand. As she broke into a small clearing, she spotted a faint light in the distance. Hope surged within her. It had to be a way out. She sprinted toward it, the underbrush tearing at her legs, but she didn't care. Just as she reached the edge of the clearing, she glanced back and saw the killer emerging from the trees, his eyes glinting with a predatory gleam. "You can't escape me, Lucy," he shouted, his voice echoing in the night. With renewed determination, she dashed toward the light, praying it wasn't another trick. The clearing opened up, revealing a dirt road bathed in moonlight. She dashed across it, the weight of her fear pushing her forward. Then she heard it, a rustling behind her, growing louder. She didn't dare look back. Instead, she raced down the road, her heart pounding in her ears, hoping against hope that she would reach the safety of the town before it was too late. But the sounds were getting closer, the laughter echoing through the night. "You think you can outrun me?" The killer's voice was a haunting melody in her mind, filling her with dread. Lucy ran until her lungs burned, the lights of Everwood flickering in the distance. Just when she thought she might make it, she heard a heavy footstep behind her. She risked a glance back, and her heart sank. The killer was closing in, his cloak billowing behind him like a dark shadow. Desperation surged through her as she pushed herself harder, faster. Finally, she spotted a house with lights on, a beacon of hope. She sprinted toward it, pounding on the door with frantic urgency. "Help! Please! Someone help me!" The door swung open, revealing a couple inside, their faces turning to shock. "What's wrong?" the man asked, stepping back as Lucy stumbled inside. But just as she thought she was safe, she heard the killer's laughter outside, a chilling sound that froze her blood. "You think they can save you?" he taunted. "You're mine, Lucy." The couple exchanged fearful glances, realizing the danger that lurked outside. "We need to call the police," the woman shouted. But Lucy was already moving, her instincts screaming at her to find a way out. Suddenly, the front window shattered as the killer lunged through, a dark figure against the light. The couple screamed, and Lucy felt a rush of panic as she backed away. The killer was here, and she had nowhere to run. In a desperate move, Lucy grabbed a heavy vase from a nearby table and hurled it at him. It shattered against the wall, but the distraction was enough. She dashed toward the back door, bursting through just as he turned to face her. Outside, the night air was cold against her skin. She bolted down the street, the sound of chaos behind her. The The lights of Everwood blurred as she ran, her mind racing with fear and adrenaline. As she turned a corner, she spotted a familiar street. She was getting closer to home. With each step, her resolve strengthened. She couldn't let him win. Finally, she reached her street, her house standing like a fortress in the night. She dashed up the steps, heart racing, and pounded on the door. "Mom, Dad, open up." After what felt like an eternity, her parents opened the door, confusion quickly turning to alarm at the sight of their terrified daughter. "Lucy, what happened?" her mother cried, pulling her inside. "No time. He's coming," Lucy gasped, glancing back at the street. She could feel the weight of darkness pressing in around her, the killer's presence haunting her every breath. "Call the police," her father shouted, rushing to grab his phone as Lucy slammed the door shut and locked it. She leaned against it, trying to catch her breath, but the panic didn't subside. Who's coming?" her mother asked, panic rising in her voice. "Just a man. He's trying to kill me," Lucy stammered, her heart racing. She heard the distant sound of footsteps outside, the chilling echo that sent shivers down her spine. Her father quickly dialed 911, and Lucy could hear him explaining the situation, urgency threading through his words. "We need help right away. There's a murderer on the loose." As they waited, the atmosphere in the house thickened with dread. The distant sounds of the killer's laughter echoed through the night, a haunting reminder that they were not safe yet. Suddenly, a loud bang reverberated through the house as the killer slammed against the door, testing its strength. Lucy's heart raced as she exchanged terrified glances with her parents. "He's here," she whispered, fear spilling over. Her father motioned for them to back away from the door. Then, with a fierce crack, the door splintered, and the killer lunged into the house. He looked wild, eyes gleaming with madness, knife glinting in the dim light. "You thought you could hide?" he taunted, stepping into the entryway, blocking their escape. "Get back," Lucy's father shouted, stepping in front of Lucy and her mother protectively. The killer smiled wickedly. "This will be fun," he sneered. In that moment of chaos, Lucy felt a surge of adrenaline. She spotted a heavy metal candlestick on a nearby table. As the killer advanced, she lunged for it, gripping it tightly. "Leave my family alone," she screamed, swinging the candlestick with all her strength. The metal connected with the killer's arm, and he howled in pain, stumbling back. "Lucy," her father shouted. "Run!" Lucy didn't need to be told twice. She dashed past the killer, rushing toward the back door, but the killer quickly recovered and lunged after her. Her mother grabbed a kitchen chair and hurled it at him, buying Lucy a precious moment to escape. Outside, she sprinted toward the woods again, heart pounding in her chest.
With this part 2 has come to an end. Can you guess what will happen next? Let me know down below. Come back tomorrow to hear my Halloween special finale. If you love my journey in haunted stories, so far I would like to ask to like and subscribe. Stay safe, and thanks all for listening, and come back tomorrow at 8 for the finale part.